Hello, and welcome to the review for your final. I want to show you a quick video so you know what to expect for each problem, but also so you know how to appropriately answer it so that you can get your maximum amount of points. The first 8 questions are important concepts of our course. Let's begin with the parabola question. For the quadratic function, write the equation in vertex form, y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Then graph the function. So we see that we have the equation y equals 3x squared minus 24x minus 46. The problem here is that we need to get that x by itself. So we need to factor that number, the initial term on the x squared. All right, so we factor out a 3 to all the numbers that have an x, so that we get 3 times x squared minus 8x plus 46. All right, and from there we want to create a third term to create a perfect square trinomial. So we take our b, which is negative 8, and we plug it into our formula b squared over 2 squared. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. B over 2 squared. And then we get the number 16. Want to make sure to add that 16 to on both sides. But remember, since you're multiplying that 3, I need to multiply it before I write the number on the outside. All right, so we get y equals 3 times x minus 4 plus 2. Remember that you had to factor this new trinomial to get here with that x minus 4 squared. And remember, it's always a number you get before you square it. And it kind of is a helpful cheat way. Please label your vertex, your axis symmetry, and state whether it opens up or down. You need to also, to graph it, you're going to need more points. So as an extra point, let's plot the point that's 1 away from it. Let's plot the point 3. Once we plug in 3, we get the answer of 5. And because it's a metric, we get that that point also tells us the point on the other side. That's also 1 away. You're going to have 2 factoring questions. The first one, it's a straightforward factoring. The second one is where you're going to have to factor GCF and then you factor using the AC method. Third, we have a system of linear equations where I asked you to solve using elimination. Here, I chose to cancel out the a's by multiplying by a negative 2 to get negative 4. And when I add it with that 4, we get 0. But remember, you have to multiply it to each number, as we see here. We solve and we get b equals 3. And then we go ahead and we plug it in to any one of your equations. It doesn't matter. I chose the first one because it had smaller numbers, and we get an answer to be a equals 1. And remember, your answer has to be a point. If it's not x and y, it's always in the order of the alphabet. So because a comes before b, it goes in the order a comma b. Next question has you working with complex numbers. To add and subtract complex numbers, quite plainly, treat them as a variable and a constant, as you would if you had an x instead of an I. Now to multiply, the only thing you have to remember is that I squared gives you negative 1. So here, after you FOIL, you get that I squared, so replace it with a negative 1 and just collect like terms. All right, for 5, use quadratic formula. I highly suggest you label your A, B, and C. So we say that our A is 1, my B is 8, and my C is 2. I also highly suggest you write down your quadratic formula so that you just plug them in and then work your answer out. I want it both as a simplified version and in decimal form. For 6, we have a Pythagorean theorem problem. And also, it's a good way for me to have a word problem. It's important that we know how to read our math as well. This problem reads, in the following problem, give the exact answer and round to 3 decimal places if necessary. The Samsung Galaxy 8 S8 phone has less bezel at the top and bottom and a longer screen than previous models. The new Infinity screen measures 5.8 inches diagonally and is 2.7 inches wide. Find the length of the display screen. So we want to find the length. That is what we want to know. Now we're told that the width is 2.7. So because we know for sure that this type of phone in the picture, it's not a circle, it's not a triangle. It kind of has that right angle, rectangle, right? So we can steal this information to steal a rectangle. And so I create a triangle and use the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, our Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember, c squared is always your hypotenuse, which is the side opposite of your 90 degrees, and it's also the longest side of the triangle. All right, so we input them into our formula, and we solve. And yes, you are going to have to use a calculator. We get our answer. B is 5.33. Next, we have a foiling question, which all of you did really well in your exam. You just make sure you multiply every number out. Then we have another foiling question. You can copy it twice and foil, meaning, let me write down the side. You can also foil. So you can also write it as x to the fifth minus 5 times x to the fifth minus 5 and get the same answer. I just wanted to show you the way you can go about using your formula. You have to be very comfortable with multiplying polynomials because that's something you'll see a lot when you go into college algebra. All right, while this may be your final, I also want this to be a chance to reflect on what we've learned. You're going to have to answer these 3 questions and then post them on your reviews so you can start thinking about what you're going to write for your final. 8. Tell me about what concept you found the most challenging. What did you do to overcome this challenge and understand this? Also write and solve an equation of a concept you found challenging. Now for the example, you can choose problems from the book, from our notes, from your My Math Lab homework. You have lots of places where you can find questions that you want to show and display on your final. Remember, it's a chance to impress me. Make sure you don't just give me the easiest answer. Give me something that you know you can truly reflect on. 9. What concept did you enjoy the most? Give an example and list of steps of how to solve it. I think it's important to reflect on what we learned, especially in math. I know sometimes it can be overwhelming, but we always learn so much and we can't take for granted everything we've learned, especially everything we liked. So tell me what you liked. And 10, what do you look forward to once we are done with this pandemic? I know it's been a long time, but once we're done with this, what are you looking forward to do? All right, this is your final for the course. You'll have 1 week to complete it, and it's available as of now. Thanks.